Hi everyone, Pixel Penguin here. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be looking at the top 5 tips every Slay the Spire player should know to play Ironclad. So, if you're looking to improve your Ironclad gameplay and maybe climb all the way to A20, then this video is definitely for you. Let's get right to it. Tip number 1. Health is a resource. This is an idea that a lot of newer players struggle with, and while it is true for all the characters in Slay the Spire, it's especially relevant for the Ironclad because of the Ironclad's starting relic. Health essentially provides you with the opportunity to tackle more hallway fights and hunt elites. This, in turn, generates cards you can pick to improve your deck, as well as gold that you can spend at the merchant. So, while you may be tempted to avoid fights on your way to the bosses, this is actually a waste of the opportunity to improve your position in the run. You should think of health in the same way as you think of gold or potions, a resource you want to spend. Because of Ironclad's Burning Blood, which recovers 6 health after each fight, you want to be fighting as much as possible to take advantage of the Ironclad's unique ability. This means that during fights, you can be much more aggressive with Ironclad than you would playing any other character. Cards that spend your health are deceptively strong. For example, Hemokinesis is worth more than twice a strike in damage for the same energy cost. An Offering, which inexperienced players tend to overlook, lets you play nearly 2 turns at once for only 6 HP. The damage you incur from playing these cards is compensated by how fast they let you close fights, avoiding even more damage that the enemies might have dealt. So, look for fights, and spend your health liberally. Just make sure you don't die.
Oh shit!
Tip number 2. Exhaust, exhaust, exhaust. Exhausting cards is another counterintuitive concept for players who aren't used to playing Ironclad. While exhausting your cards may initially seem like a downside, it's actually a positive effect a lot of the time. Think of it this way. You'd happily pay that scumbag of a merchant 75 gold to remove a strike from your deck, right? Well, exhausting your cards in combat lets you do that for free. A card like True Grit, for example, will net you more armor than a defend, and it will rid you of cards you want to avoid drawing after you reshuffle. On top of that, you can easily target the cards you want to exhaust on a per fight basis, tailoring your draw pile to your needs in real time. So, be liberal with your exhausts, and take advantage of any synergies that may pop up. It's worth mentioning that Corruption, which makes all of your skills free but causes them to exhaust for the entire fight, is an amazing card. While it may be daunting to consider that you'll only be able to use your skills a single time after activating the power, think of how many times you'd need to cycle through your deck to use all of your skills during a fight. Corruption lets you do that much faster and more reliably, ensuring you'll draw damage cards on the reshuffle to close fights. Make sure you pick up expensive skills after getting Corruption to utilize its power to the fullest extent. Tip number 3. The right amount of strength. In many builds, Ironclad's damage comes from combining strength with multi-hit attacks like Twin Strike or multi-target attacks like Cleave. This is because strength affects every individual hit as well as every individual enemy. Based on this, you may be tempted to pick every card that gives you strength. This would be a mistake. Think of it this way. If your left arm is jacked like Rafael Nadal's, should you train it even more when you go to the gym? Or should you focus on your right arm? Obviously the latter, if you don't want to look like the left half of a bodybuilder was stitched to the right half of a scarecrow. This is especially true when it comes to building strength with Ironclad. So, while you want to pick up a healthy amount of strength to power up those multi-hit and multi-target attacks, you don't want to overdo it, as you may find yourself with a tremendous amount of strength, but not enough attacks to use it on. Besides, enemies have a limited amount of health, so you won't really be needing that 50 strength hit. For most decks, you'll want to aim for, at most, 1 upgraded flex and an inflame, or a spot weakness. Alternatively, if your deck lent itself well to demon form, then you can stop focusing on strength altogether, and focus on attacks and survival instead, to let the strength scale up. By the way, if you're enjoying these tips and you want to help me scale this channel up, be sure to like and hit the subscribe button. It's more impactful than you think. Okay, tip number 4. Know the Showstoppers. There are a number of cards and relics that will really propel your run to an easy win, but these may be hard to spot if you don't know about them beforehand. Picking them up has a specific timing, which, if done right, should give you a very comfortable run. They're divided into 2 groups. The first group is what I call the Act 1 killers. These are high damage cards that completely trivialize most fights in Act 1, letting you reap the benefits so your deck can become much stronger for the rest of the run. These cards are Bludgeon, Fiendfire, and Immolate. If you can get your hands on one of these early on, in particular as your blessing when Meow, the whale at the beginning of the run, offers you options, then you should pick them without a second thought. The second group is made up of the rewards from completing Act 1. After defeating the boss from Act 1, if you spot a Corruption, which I mentioned in tip number 2, or a Fiendfire, then you should strongly consider picking them, as they provide significant value that let you overpower most Act 2 fights. As for the Act 1 boss relic reward, Snecko Eye is without a doubt the best pick, as long as your deck isn't just a collection of 0 and 1 cost cards. Snecko Eye randomizes the cost of every card you draw, making it a relic you can build your whole deck around by picking only energy expensive cards, which Ironclad has plenty of options for. Tip number 5. Stall for farming. While you may be tempted to finish fights as quickly as possible, you want to consider the possibility of farming. Farming is when a card you use during a fight benefits your entire run, and it's especially powerful on Ironclad because of how much you should be seeking fights. Ironclad has 2 cards that let you farm. Feed, which increases your maximum health if it kills an enemy, and Reaper, a multi-target attack that heals you for the amount dealt. You can also pick up Hand of Greed at a merchant early on. This colorless card gives you gold if it kills an enemy, and since it doesn't exhaust, you can use it to farm multiple times in the same fight. There's also the Vampire event, which replaces all your strike cards with Bite, which heal you, and is usually a good option on Ironclad if you haven't found other sources of sustain. You can also obtain the Ritual Dagger card from the Nest event, which is usually a better option than the 99 gold it offers you as an alternative. In order to farm effectively, you want to get your enemies to low health and ensure they won't be dealing additional damage to you, usually through the use of block. This way, you can stall until you draw the cards you need to farm them, and then reap those benefits. So, if you're running any of these powerful cards, remember to wait long enough for them to finish the fights, and your runs will become that much smoother as a result. That's it for the top 5 Ironclad tips. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything you think I've missed, or if these strategies have worked for you. Be sure to check out my Twitch stream and subscribe for more Slay the Spire content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.